What's up, everybody? This is Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, HawgSports.com. Got plenty to talk about today, obviously, with Arkansas beating Cincinnati 31-24. We're going to take one last look at that. We're going to get Andrew Ellis on the show to talk about some of the things he saw. Also, look ahead, of course, to the South Carolina game, a big one at 11 o'clock on Saturday. And Danny West is also going to join us to talk a little bit about recruiting, all that and more on today's episode of Hog Sports Live. Now, before we get started, where's my picture there? Here we go. All right, there's KJ up in the corner. All right, before we get started, I'm not going to remind you about all the ways to watch and listen to anything, and I really appreciate everybody jumping in with the Apple Podcast reviews. We may read some of those at the end of the show, so we got some great ones on that. But what I want to first talk about is our 75% off promotion. So, this is a big one. 75% off. All right, this is the biggest one that we offer. This is for anybody we can't get, because we figure our hardest thing is to get people through the door to show them what we like, show them what we got, and this is the big one. So if you've been teetering back and forth for 25% of the normal cost, that's $26.85 for the full year of access. Okay, that breaks down to $2.24 a month, 52 cents a week, 7 cents a day. Okay, tell me something that you get that you like better for 7 cents a day. All right, so go to HawgSports.com, HawgSports.com, and sign up, and you'll get the deal. There's no promo code or anything like that. Now, and I always add this. So we put out a lot of free content. We put out a lot of VIP stuff, our free content stuff from press conferences and things like that. You can get just about anywhere that other media outlets are about to put out. But if you like what we do with the, the free stuff, if you like this show, if you like the walk and talk, you like Drive Time and all that stuff, and you ever wonder, how can I support the show? You can support what we do by getting something great, and it's our VIP membership, which is the best thing that we have going. That's the best thing we do. If you like walk and talk, all this stuff, come check out the VIP stuff. Again, it's 7 cents a day. 7 cents a day. $26.85 is what you'll be charged. I mean, that's an incredible deal. We give way more than you used to get with a newspaper back in the day, and you used to pay a quarter, maybe 50 cents, a lot more on Sundays. This is something that you can use all day long for 7 cents. Always somebody to interact with on our Razor's Edge Premium Forum. All of our VIP content, Danny West insider recruiting stuff. And we touch on a little bit of insider stuff here and there on this show from recruiting, but really all of the VIP stuff is on Hog Sports. So if you're a casual fan, I get it. As Josh Pate says, maybe just enjoy the free stuff. But if you're a diehard, like if you know the roster, if you like to follow recruiting, what are you doing? If you're not signed up, sign up. I promise you'll be happy you did. It's always difficult for us to get people through the door, but once we do, they stick with us. And there's a reason for that. Appreciate you listening. And thank you to all of you who are already subscribed and supporting us for a long time. It means everything for us to be able to do the job we do, be able to do this show. Wouldn't be able to do this, wouldn't be able to do the walk and talk or any of that stuff if we did not have our subscribers at Hog Sports. So thank you to you. Latest injury report. Okay, we don't know a whole heck of a lot. Does kind of feel like Dominic Johnson could possibly make it back for this one, just based on what Sam Pittman was saying on Monday. I was there, asked him a few questions. Miles Slusher, Jalen Catalon, feels like a little bit of wait and see, okay? Especially more with Miles Slusher. I would give definitely a bigger percentage that Catalon would be available for this one versus Slusher. It does seem like Isaiah Nichols is going to be back. Those are the main ones. You got some guys that are dinked and injured and stuff here and there. Feels like they'll probably work Kari Johnson a little bit more at nickel. He did work some at safety. I saw him in the spring, saw him a little bit in camp at safety. So they're a little bit banged up there. There's a few questions that arose in the secondary, obviously, with some injuries at safety, of course, and then at nickel with Slusher, and then, some questionable play by, I don't want to say all the cornerbacks, but everybody's got to get better, as Sam Pittman said. None of them were just tremendous. Dwight McGlothern did set the tone there, but, there were some issues, obviously. Ladarius Bishop had a rough three-play stretch. 2 plays, 30, 36 yards, and a touchdown. So, I mean, got to get better at cornerback. I watched the entire South Carolina game. I actually avoided the game score and was able to watch it yesterday. the whole thing. Pause it. So I feel like I got a good idea of, kind of what South Carolina's bringing to the table. And I'll say this before we jump into some of my latest takes on South Carolina. They've got good players all the way across, and the transfer portal helps a lot of that, obviously. I don't know that, aside from special teams, that I would say I see something spectacular about them or any individual player. Good players, but it seems like to me a team that's still kind of building. But you got to love, if you're a South Carolina fan, what happened on special teams Saturday. 2 field goals over 50 yards, a successfully executed fake field goal, an onside kick that was there. It was close. I'm surprised they did a fake field goal and an onside kick against Georgia State, but they did. 2 blocked punts. 2 blocked punts. I mean, the statistics show that if you block a punt, that's huge. Now, there's a lot of overlap with Arkansas and South Carolina. Shane Beamer and Sam Pittman were on the same staff together. Beamer was special teams coordinator and tight ends coach when Sam Pittman was offensive line coach at Georgia. Scott Fountain was an analyst, special teams analyst at the time, working with them. So these guys know a lot about what each other wants to do on special teams, but that's something that's going to stand out about anybody. Beamer. I mean, Beamer ball. His father was not only the head coach of Virginia Tech, he was also the special teams coordinator at the same time he was head coach. That's something you always remembered about those old Virginia Tech teams, was special teams was elite. So that's going to be a part of this game to absolutely pay attention to. Arkansas did some good things on special teams, and they did some bad things on special teams. I don't know if it was Max Fletcher had some nerves or what, but he did not punt the ball very well. In fact, I would have gone to Reed Bauer at some point. So I don't know if he was stiff, nervous, or what, his first game. But I've seen him in practice kick a heck of a lot better than what he did. A.J. Green, I didn't like his choice 3 yards deep into the end zone to pull it out when it's got good hang time. I mean, you get hit at the 10-yard line. That's a pretty good sign that you should not have taken that ball out. And then what happens? You leave yourself susceptible to a penalty on that. I mean, unless it's just like an obvious, I need to run this out, then don't do it. These are the kinds of things that can get you beat in a game like this. And what happened? They get a holding penalty. That was probably, to me, one of 2 bad plays by Hudson Clark in the game. I know everybody likes to say, well, he's got faults. Everybody else's faults don't matter, but Hudson Clark's faults matter, even though he played the best out of any of the cornerbacks. But Hudson was hit with a holding call on that backed him up to, their own territory. Ricky Stromberg snaps the ball kind of off to Jefferson's side. He mishandles it, turns the ball over. Now, that's where the crowd jumped in. So I know I'm going over 2 things at once, but, just with South Carolina, the special teams are going to be such a key component in this game. And aside from that, man for man, just based on what I'm seeing, I like Arkansas's personnel better. That doesn't mean South Carolina has bad personnel, because they don't. I just feel like Arkansas is a stage ahead of where South Carolina is. They're the home team. That was a great environment in that game, too. They got the lights working and everything. Can't help but not like Shane Beamer. I mean, seems like a good guy. Seems like he'd be a good guy to cover also, media-wise. So that's what we know about injury situation. Could see Dominic Johnson, although Arkansas's backs all ran well. I thought DeBinion, he had like 3 carries. I guess they were all positive plays. A.J. Green ran the ball really well compared to what we saw last year. I agree 100% with Sam Pittman when he said that today, that A.J. Green really hit the hole hard and ran hard. And then, of course, Rocket Sanders had, 20 carries for 117 yards. Rocket looked really good. Stiff arm. I mean, he's developed quite, not really, I don't know if it's like stiff arm, it's just like a brush away. It's just kind of, you like that? That's also my move for Drew Sanders' swim move. That's what I remember talking, Drew Sanders. So the depth chart was released for the South Carolina game. I didn't see any notable changes. It looks the same to me, unless there's something I'm not catching. I would obviously expect there to be quite a heated punting battle this week between Max Fletcher and Reed Bauer. That's to be expected. Just didn't punt the ball very well. So I woke up, and I'd already written some stuff that night. But, so when I go home after the game, So I'm watching from the press box, do the press conference, do the walk and talk, any other stuff. And I started writing some of my thoughts immediately. And I usually go home and watch the game right away. But this one, for some reason, I wanted to watch the other games. And so I started watching, every bit I could of all the other games. And I watched, the 44 highlight plays on my streaming service that they categorize, which is great, from Arkansas. But I watched some of the other games, and I decided to kind of save, my fresh eyes for the morning to watch the Arkansas game, which I ended up doing basically all day, just watching everything over and over and over again. So, but before I did that, I woke up and I finished the stuff I was writing, and these are kind of some of the things that I was talking about, because you hear so much about perspective and where Arkansas used to be and where they are now, but to me, that's not perspective. That's not the perspective you should have. That's the reflection point should not be the horrendous 2018-2019 aberrations. That's not Arkansas football. That's a disaster. I don't know what that was, but that's not like, you should feel really good about where Arkansas is, because, just a couple years ago, 33 months ago, they were the worst program in Power 5 football. No, that's not the reflection point. However, independently, I think you should be excited about where Arkansas is. This is a good Cincinnati team. Okay? And yeah, maybe we thought that Arkansas could have, performed a little bit better, but it's an opener. I mean, teams don't even scrimmage anymore. I think that's why you see so much questions early on, because you get better from hitting and tackling and playing football, and you're just not able to do it because is it totally worth risk and injury? Because we see what happens. I mean, we saw what happened in this game. There are several players that are banged up and injured in this one. So you're going to see a lot of improvement, I think, for just about everybody from week 1 to week 2. Just about everybody. And the important thing is that Arkansas came out of this with a win against a very good South Carolina team. And I've said before, I thought South Carolina was going to be certain things. I thought they, maybe not be as big as they passed the eye test to me. I thought they looked like a heck of a team. I think they're going to win. I mean, this is a team that's 3 months from now is going to be 11-1. So they don't have to play Arkansas' schedule, but still going to be 11-1. Arkansas's crowd was fantastic overall. I do wonder, this is not directed to the vast majority of students that were at that game, but I don't understand why in a top 25 matchup to open the season, why some of the students left. Like, there was a noticeable number of students that left the game, and I understand the sun's coming down on you and all this stuff, but if you're not going to stay for the 60-minute clock for a less than 4 hour game, then don't take up a seat. Let somebody else have the seat. That's not indicative of 95% of the students, okay? 90%, 95%. But I don't understand. Dixon Street is not going anywhere, okay, at 7 o'clock. It's still going to be there. Stay at the game and cheer. They need you. This was obvious to me that the crowd made a difference. And, Pittman brought this up several times too, because it's an 11 o'clock game. But going to that Georgia game last year, and I was there. I was at that Georgia game. The crowd was packed out. They knew it was going to be they knew the team needed them. I mean, in theory, because Arkansas was playing really good ball at the time. That's for, I guess, the 3-game streak. But they were playing really good football at the time, and Georgia fans showed up. I mean, the stadium was packed. It was loud. It absolutely impacted Arkansas. They weren't quite ready for that environment. It's been a while since they played in an environment like that with COVID and all that stuff. Arkansas fans have got to show up for this one, okay? There were 74,751. They definitely played. I mean, there were times where they could not get lined up. I mean, they could not get lined up in a legal formation. They couldn't get the snap off before. During that after that fumble, South Carolina ran 3 plays and committed 4 penalties and had to settle for a field goal. I mean, that's crowd. They got him again. I mean, there was another delay of game on the other field goal that moved him out of field goal range. The crowd absolutely played a role. I think it was probably worth more than a touchdown in that game. I don't think either team played particularly great, but again, it's the opener. And you almost kind of just hope to because you're like trying to figure so much stuff out about your team because you haven't it's not like the old days where you just like basically scrimmage each other live tackle. Like even recently when they were still tackling, you still didn't tackle below the waist, like in spring games and stuff like that. You don't tackle below the waist. So Arkansas, Cincinnati, all these teams, none of them, I'm sure Cincinnati probably didn't really tackle either, but you find out so much more about your team during this 3.5, 4-hour game than you probably have the last 8 months. Like you didn't know that A.J. Green was going to have that 10-3, hit the hole, drive his legs. You don't know about what a guy's going to do after the catch, fighting off tacklers, falling forward, all that kind of stuff. Timing, all that stuff is impacted by, the physical nature of the game versus just running out and, hey, we're going to go throw this summer. That's great. But there's nothing like throwing in a game. You win, it's better to go back and correct after a win, I promise you. It's probably the worst game for the officials, too. I'm hard on officials. I mean, I'm not one of those people that are like, there's a conspiracy. I just think there's ineptness at times with officials. And, there were several times in this one where, I thought Drew Sanders once was just kind of grabbed by the hips on a play that ended up being a really big play for them. I thought Eric Gregory was held on their last touchdown that easily could have been called. I thought there was holding on the punt return that was a big punt return for them. I felt like they missed a lot of those. I thought there was a couple of opportunities, that maybe could have been called unsportsmanlike conduct also. And I also want to propose this to the Rules Committee. Once the third helmet comes off, let's start calling delay a game or something. That's ridiculous. There was like over 10 helmets that came off for Cincinnati. What is going on there? Is that an equipment guy? I've never seen anything like it. By the way, congratulations to Bumper Pool. He was named SEC Defensive Player of the Week. Jordan Dominic was named SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week. How cool is that? Speaking of those transfers, so Jordan Dominic and Landon Jackson both played really well, and so did Terry Hampton. Maybe didn't show up in the stats. Terry Hampton had a tackle for loss. He also had another one that was wiped out because of one of those penalties down there at the goal line, but it would have been a tackle for loss. So the good news is Terry Hampton could play. That's good news, real good news. Jordan Dominic, Landon Jackson can play. I thought Jordan Dominic may have said, hey, I need to play more in this one. The strip, it was a hit. You call it a strip sack, but it was a hit. The ball came loose, and he recovered the fumble. That's what got him SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week. Drew Sanders balled out. I mean, he played great. Really, all the big plays were made. Dwight McGlothern had that interception, the 51-yard return. That was a huge one. I think it was at the first drive. I believe it was the first drive. It's in the first quarter. But that ended up setting up a KJ Jefferson touchdown run. So really, besides Bumper Pool's like 14 tackles, the biggest plays on defense were made by transfers, and then 107 yards for the other guys. All right. I told Andrew Ellis that I was going to have him on 5 minutes ago, so maybe we'll go there. I want to go over just a couple more things real quick here. Just some things I noticed after I went back and watched the game. Arkansas didn't test the middle until the last 114 on their last drive right before half. They never threw the ball over the middle, never threw deep down the sideline. KJ is a guy that, 58% of his completions with the graphic I saw that, on his passes 15 yards or more downfield. That's a pretty good number, but they never tested the middle. It was all kind of safer throws to the outside, not really wanting to risk putting the ball in jeopardy, I guess. But they've got the receivers to do that. I do think KJ could loosen up a little bit and throw some of those deep balls. I know that he missed Matt Landers. I don't know if it showed up on TV. I don't think it did because I couldn't find the play, but there was a play where Matt Landers was all alone, wide open. And Jefferson went to a shorter pass so that, I don't expect him to be perfect, obviously. KJ's a stud. But, man, I was watching that one. I was like – and I saw a lot of people kind of complaining about what time Malik Hornsby got open. KJ had already had the pressure in his face. It already, it all happened at the same time, so that wasn't really a miss in my opinion. But then, obviously started testing it over the middle after that. hit Trey Knox, hit Warren Thompson on a slant, obviously hit Trey Knox in the end zone. Offense started finding their groove a little bit, right? At half, and then the first play of the second half. The second Arkansas drive is the fumble, and then the third drive they got back going again, and I think got down there and I think they had to settle for a field goal at that point. Trey Knox had a great game. May have been the offensive player of the game. I mean, up there. He had 2 touchdowns, so maybe he wasn't perfect. He did in the fourth quarter whiff on a block by Ivan Pace Jr., their linebacker. 12:45 to go in the game, and Pace came in there and just completely cleaned up Jefferson. Jaquan Shepard, like the next play, the safety or the cornerback came on a corner blitz and hit him again, and then so that play was that drive was kind of doomed. And then he went around Brady Latham, almost got a safety. So it wasn't all roses, but Trey Knox had probably his best game as a Razorback. I mean, he had 6 catches for 90 yards as a freshman in one game, but, the importance of this game, 2 touchdowns also. That 32-yard catch and run, pretty sweet. Good to see Trey Knox having success. He deserves it. All right, we're going to go to Andrew now. So for those of you who don't follow Andrew Ellis, you can follow him at Andrew Ellis 247. He is a jack of all trades. I've got him listed as a staff writer. That didn't really do him justice. He does videographer. He's our videographer. He's our beat writer on everything else. Whoa! I dropped you, Andrew. I got you now, though. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing real good. Now, you were up there with the press box with us, and I just kind of wanted to get your initial impressions, or not your initial impressions. Obviously, you've given impressions throughout the weekend, but your final thoughts, I should say, on what happened with Arkansas's game against Cincinnati on Saturday.
Well, I've thought about it a lot, and, throughout the offseason, we all convince ourselves certain things are going to happen, and we kind of go back and forth on what we want to expect and what we think is going to happen. And, at the end of the day, I think that this game really just played out pretty much exactly how it was supposed to, I would say. I mean, obviously there's some factors here and there and variables we didn't know about, like Catalan and Slusher going down with injuries. But overall, Arkansas, they took care of business. Wasn't always pretty. And Cincinnati, gave them everything they could. And Cincinnati did really what you expected them to do as a team that's won a lot of games in the last few years and really is a program that's just in such a good spot. And they brought it. And Arkansas did what they had to do. And it kind of played out the way we expected. I honestly expected there to be a little more separation. But, credit to Cincinnati. They really brought it. And Arkansas was up for the challenge. It was good to see on both sides.
Anything that for you that maybe you took away that was different than something you thought that you were seeing in practices and such?
Well, I think back to last year, and Arkansas had a lot of transfers on the defensive line that ended up being huge for them, and ended up being their 3 starters. Really, it took about a week of fall camp for all of us to realize that was going to be the case. It didn't take long for everyone to realize, hey, John Ridgway's a dude. He's running with the ones. He's a stud. Troy Williams is going to be a problem off the edge. Honestly, that wasn't the feel during this fall camp. And obviously, we try to find what we can in fall camp. We don't get to really see too much actually happen. We're just kind of going off the 15, 20 minutes we get to see and hearing what we hear from players and coaches. But, I never really got the feel that Arkansas was blown away by the defensive transfers they had. And Terry Hampton is a guy that we heard a lot about, and we kind of saw glimpses of why. It seemed like he was in the backfield a lot all Saturday. Mm-hmm. But really, I would say that Landon Jackson and Jordan Dominic just were better than I expected them to be, simply. I mean, definitely at this point, we know both those guys are talented. But like I said, all fall camp, it's not like every player or coach had been coming to the podium and just raving about Landon Jackson or raving, Jordan Dominic's going to make so many plays. And I would say that the defensive line as a group was probably more ahead of schedule than I expected. Really on both sides of the ball. I mean, I felt like Arkansas's offensive line didn't maul Cincinnati up front, which is something that I wouldn't have been stunned if they did. I mean, there's a lot of experience on both offensive lines, and I thought that both teams' defenses kind of rose to the occasion and provided more, force than we expected.
Andrew Ellis joining us again. This is going to be a big special teams game coming up, Andrew, and I didn't think special teams was just out of this world. I thought there was a few mistakes. So if you get a chance to watch any South Carolina, I checked out the I checked out the game, but have you had a chance to watch them on special teams? It's pretty impressive.
Well, I saw the two big special teams plays. That's the entirety of the South Carolina I've gotten into at this point. But obviously, that's something we expect. I mean, it's Frank Beamer's son. You figured that South Carolina was going to be pretty good on special teams once they got rolling. It's going to be interesting. Arkansas, we saw them last year throughout the year. It seemed like they just got better and better on special teams. Cam Little was, solid all year, and you kind of expect him to be the same. But really just their units overall throughout the year improved so much. And we heard Scott Fountain talk about how they feel like they have more team speed and depth at different spots, so they should be improved on special teams. And I didn't see anything like overly concerning with Arkansas special teams. You would like to see them punt the ball better, but as far as the units as a whole, I didn't see any real problems or things that they absolutely have to clean up, like immediately urgent situations. But I expect Arkansas to be a lot cleaner in all phases in week 2. That's just kind of how these things work usually. And so I imagine Pittman and Fountain and those boys are going to have them ready for everything they're going to see. And like Pittman said, it's not like South Carolina brought any crazy, weird schematic stunts. They just kind of beat Georgia State in those special teams plays. And so I'd imagine they're going to be ready for that challenge. It's not like the Gamecocks are going to completely surprise them in that area.
Andrew Ellis joining us. Again, you can follow Andrew at Andrew Ellis247 on Twitter and read his content at HawgSports.com, HAWGsports.com. Andrew kind of splits things. He writes some free content. He also writes a lot of VIP content, and if you want a VIP subscription, it's 75% off. This ends on Tuesday, so you got Labor Day, and you got, it's interesting. Today's Labor Day. I don't even think about it because in this job, Andrew, as you've probably experienced, you work a lot of holidays, and it just kind of the way it is. There's football games on Thanksgiving. There's, commitments on July 4th. So it's just kind of the nature of the beast. I want to take you ahead to this South Carolina game, just kind of get, I don't know if I want your prediction or anything. I know it's early on that, but just how do you think these two teams match up? How do you kind of think things play out? And obviously not a final, but just your thoughts.
Well, we're about to get into that time of the year where we start doing the transitive property of, looking at, this team won by this many points, and so next week they're playing this team, and that should happen. And, I don't think there's much value in doing that, but it's not going to stop us from doing it. And I don't think Arkansas fans should look too closely at South Carolina's week 1 matchup, because I've seen a lot of, they had 2 punts blocked, so really that game was closer than it should be, and Arkansas should beat them by X amount of points or whatever. I think both teams are going to look much different just from a execution and rhythm and all those things going into week 2. I mean, there's obviously a lot of improvements you make, and you learn a lot about your team, like you were saying earlier, from week 1 to week 2. So, I think there's things to learn from both of these teams in week 1, but I do think it's going to be a different challenge for Arkansas. Not necessarily a stronger one or a worse one. I just think it's a different game, and these two teams are going to look completely differently. But I have the feeling that Arkansas, preseason, I had Arkansas winning the South Carolina game. I think I had it closer than the Cincinnati one, if I remember correctly. And I kind of see it as a similar situation where I don't expect Arkansas to just completely dominate these guys. I don't think there's a significant talent advantage for either of these teams. I do think Arkansas is probably more ahead of schedule as a program than South Carolina, and they're at home, even though it is an 11 a.m. game. So this would be a good chance for Arkansas to just kind of not flex their muscle, but just kind of prove like, hey, we're a step ahead. We're at home against a team that we're favored by a touchdown over. We're going to take care of business again. And I think that's just kind of what I'm looking for this weekend from Arkansas, to kind of see what improvements they make week to week, see who steps up on the offensive side of the ball, and at the end of the day, just see them take care of business.
So I disagree with you a little bit. I think Arkansas's got a better team talent-wise. I didn't notice anything about South Carolina that just jumped out. What jumped out to me about South Carolina was they ran an onside kick against Georgia State, and they faked a field goal against Georgia State. I was just kind of like, why use that against Georgia State? Why not save it? Now you've gotten a look at it. So I think that if in this game, I like Arkansas man for man from a talent perspective. I like Arkansas because of the home team. Last point spread I saw, by the way, is 9.5. The area I think that could be an issue for Arkansas is the injuries that they've suffered in the secondary. That could obviously pose a problem. Spencer Rattler can really spin it. Now he threw a couple passes that I thought were like he way overthrew a wide receiver. A shorter wide receiver who tipped the ball in the air, and it was intercepted. And then the second one was just like, what are you where are you going with this? Like, what was the plan here? He just forces it and is picked off. And I saw him do some of that stuff at Oklahoma also. I do think he is a good quarterback. I think people have kind of overreacted to him a little bit because he didn't beat out Caleb Williams, who's a stud at Oklahoma. But I think personnel-wise, Arkansas has got the better personnel. I think that if they lose this game, it would be because of special teams. It would be because of all the, the intangible type things like what we call the TPS report, the turnovers, the penalties, and the special teams. That's what Arkansas would have to lose, I think, to lose this game.
I agree with you there. I think this is a game that, if you're Arkansas, you expect to win this game. You should expect to win this game. I mean, you're a ranked team. You're top 20, could maybe work into that top 15 conversation. You've got a good team. You're at home. Your program's in year 3. This is a game you should win, and I agree with you there. And I also agree on Rattler. I think that, he's one of the more polarizing players in college football, and but I do think his shortcomings at Oklahoma were oversold a little bit. I mean, it's not like he was incompetent or anything. I think it's going to be an interesting matchup with him, and like you were saying, he's going to test the Arkansas secondary perhaps too much. That's the kind of style he has, but it's going to be interesting to see. And obviously, there's so many question marks with Arkansas's defensive injuries and whether they'll have Catalan or Slusher. And so that's going to be an interesting story to follow throughout the week. But honestly, regardless, I feel like you have to have give the advantage to Arkansas. And also Dominique Johnson. Let's there's a chance we see him this week. I think that's going to be a fun one to watch, to see, kind of not expecting him to have a heavy workload in his first game back, if he even is back. But there's definitely some interesting stories here. And I just expect Arkansas to play a much cleaner game. And those turnovers and those penalties, and turnovers is something that they usually do really well, and KJ Jefferson does such a good job taking care of the football. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for, is to see Arkansas just kind of put together a clean game. Maybe they block a little better up front, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Arkansas open things up offensively and maybe take some more of those deep shots that we were all wondering where they were at. And it'll be interesting to see if it kind of turns into a little bit of a shootout with the way Rattler's capable of having a big night. Arkansas has some defensive injury questions in the secondary, and I think Arkansas's offense looked pretty solid for the most part last week, and I think they might take it up a notch this week. Great
stuff, Andrew. Appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, everybody. That's Andrew Ellis again. If you're looking for Razorback people to follow and you don't know about Andrew, he is newer to the beat. He's been with us for over a year now and just does a great job. So follow him at Twitter at Andrew Ellis 247. Andrew's a guy that's at every practice, every open practice that's open. Every open practice that's open, he's there. He's watching every press conference, does a lot of great stuff for us. So if you're looking for somebody to provide some more analysis and content and thoughts, then follow Andrew Ellis at Andrew Ellis 247. Again, newer to the beat, not new to the Razorback program, obviously. From Louisiana, whole family is from Arkansas, and they all grew up, following the Razorbacks. So not new to the program at all, but new to the beat, younger guy. He was a guy that was interned for us, and we just liked him a lot. We didn't want to lose him, so we brought him on full time when the internship was over. Weren't necessarily 100% ready to jump on that, but didn't want to lose Andrew Ellis, so we went ahead and made the move, invested in him. That's what we like to do, the people we like. We're also invested in Danny West. Danny West is the #1 recruiting guy in the business. He hates when I say that, but it's true. He doesn't like to be bragged on too much. But we're going to get to Danny, find out a little bit about this recruiting weekend and maybe what to expect next weekend. That's 2 rings, though. He never uses 2 rings. Uh-oh. We may not have Danny. There he is. 3 rings, Danny. You never take 3 rings. You have me worried.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So
that's the company here.
Sorry about that, Danny. Interrupting your company. We'll keep it kind of quick. But Arkansas had a big visit weekend, 2:30 game, so they were able to get a lot of guys in. Can you tell us a little bit about what all happened on the weekend?
Yeah, I think it was a success in recruiting. It wasn't I wouldn't call it like a huge major list. You know what I mean? We've seen a lot of deeper, bigger crowds of kids. So I think those might come later in the year when you get into some of the, Alabama SEC type games. But so far, so good. It seemed like TJ Lindsey Charleston Collins. We know Walker White was in attendance. All of those guys seemed really happy with the outcome and the overall experience. I mean, you and I talked about it sitting in the press box. I got home Saturday night, and, buddy, I had a headache. It was that loud. So, yeah, it was a successful event, big win for the Hogs, and so far so good on the recruiting front.
So this is Titan Hog on our message board that on the Razor's Edge that brought this up. But, I mean, can we go ahead and just start calling Walker White the White Walker? I mean, it's a great nickname.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of that here and there. Matter of fact, every time I talk about him on the board or something, somebody's going to reply with, something like that. So I get it, but what a kid, man. Mm-hmm. We actually got to interview him Friday night. Went out to Springdale, Shiloh Christian, I should say, in Springdale, and got a good look at him. Also got to see the Haas brothers, Luke and Dylan, over at Springdale Harbor before the Shiloh game. So I was really impressed by Walker, man. He's as good as he is on the field. Obviously, we all know his family. We know JD. Got to see JD Friday night at the game. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Coach Pittman was there with Dowell Loggins in attendance. So, man, they're all over him, and rightfully so. He's got a really electric arm from what I can tell. You look at him, and he looks like a sophomore in college already, and just a great kid. I could go on and on about Walker. So, yeah, it was good to catch up with him. We do have a video of that interview on HawgSports.
Yeah, go check that out. Yeah, good kid, good family, and a lot of Razorback connections there. So, Danny, this weekend, I mean, it's an 11 o'clock game, so it's obviously tough to get people to travel. I mean, if you want to travel from a lot of places in Texas, you're getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning and driving over. And if you're playing an away game the night before, you're almost certainly not making it because you got a long evening bus ride. You're going to be tired and all that stuff. So it's hard to get players in for an 11 o'clock game. But if you can get them in, as Sam Pittman was saying, there's a great opportunity to spend a little extra time with them because it is an early game. So you can kind of get with them after the game and maybe do some more stuff. So do you know anything about this weekend for visit-wise, or is it too early?
Yeah, obviously we'll be adding more names later in the week, but the one guy that I've got to talk about is Fletcher Westfall. He's an offensive tackle, 4-star offensive tackle for the 2024 class. So he's out of Leesburg, Virginia. I know it's a long way to come, but this is one that they've had scheduled for quite a while. I know Fletcher told me a few weeks back, he said he's had his plane tickets bought for a long time, and he's really looking forward to it. Now, he's already been here on an unofficial, so this is obviously another unofficial as well. But, it's important, man. You get a guy from Virginia halfway across the country, here twice already, and he's going into his junior year. I think it's pretty telling. Now, he's also visited other schools, other places. So it's not just Arkansas, but it does kind of tell you that he's serious about the place. And his relationship with Cody Kennedy seems, like they're off to a good start. And again, that's Fletcher Westfall, 6'8", 295. They've been all over him early on, and curious to see what he thinks about the game experience coming out of Saturday.
All right, Danny. Well, I appreciate you. We're going to let you get back to your company. And
I ran him off as a salesman anyway. But yeah.
All right. Well, I don't have anything else for you unless you got some other words of wisdom to share.
Man. Looking forward to week 2. It was good to be back in the press box with some fellas the other day.
It
was.
was
A good one.
We've been watching games together for a long time, Danny. In fact, I don't think a lot of people even know. The walk and talk was kind of stemmed from, I was doing those little down on the field, talks, and I ended up had like a tripod. I ended up just grabbing the tripod eventually and kind of, talking like that. But that kind of morphed with our talks that we used to have all the time, leaving the stadium together, walking down to lot 56, just talking about what we saw in the game. And that's kind of what the walk and talk has become. You've been replaced by the audience, basically. But that's what the walk and talk, kind of hybrided from. So you deserve some credit for the walk and talk.
Oh, well, thanks. I didn't know that really, but I'm always willing to take credit for something, dude.
Yeah, there not any financial compensation, of course.
All right. We heard from my people.
Yeah. All right, brother.
All right, man. We'll see you.
All right, everybody. That's Danny West again. Follow Danny at DannyWest247. Most of his stuff is VIP, so you're going to need a VIP subscription if you want to read Danny West's content on HawgSports. All his recruiting, really just not just recruiting updates and stuff, but really painting the picture with like the big red board and things like that. Painting the picture for people who want to know about the future of the program. Danny West is the follow. He is the guy that you follow. All right. I want to get to some pregame polls here because this is something we do every week. And afterwards, this is Andrew Ellis's article who we just talked to. After that, Andrew will go back and look at the polls. And Razorback fans, I felt like did pretty good in this one. So how many passing yards will KJ Jefferson throw for in this game? Most people said 200, 249. I believe it was 223. So 41.44% said that it would be in that range. Which Arkansas newcomer will have the best performance against Cincinnati? Drew Sanders was the leading vote getter. He's possibly up there. Jordan Dominic did get Defensive Lineman of the Week, so he may be up there. Hazelwood had a touchdown catch. He may be up there, but it was Drew Sanders at 51.6%. I'll give some people that. He had a good game, and that is a subjective one. He definitely played more snaps than like Jordan Dominic did. How many yards will Arkansas rush for in this game? 41.4% was the leading total, and that was 200, 249. Arkansas ran for 224. So nailed that one. It's a good start. Usually these are way off. Who will score the first Arkansas touchdown? Most people, 48.47%, said Rocket Sanders, but second most was KJ Jefferson at 27.05. KJ Jefferson had that touchdown run. What would be the result of the first drive? Most people said a rushing touchdown. It was actually a first down and then a punt. So didn't get that one right. So that's the first one that's really just, there's two, I guess, because this is the touchdown. So it's two that you didn't get out of the 10. How many total yards of offense will Cincinnati have against Arkansas? I guess it's just kind of getting a little worse because they said 300 to 349, and they had, well over 400 yards. Only 2.61% said 400 to 449. So that's 3. I guess we're getting worse. Who will lead the Razorbacks in rushing this game? Rocket Sanders. He absolutely did. 81.49% projected that. Leading receiver for Arkansas. It's a pretty mixed bag. Matt Landers, most of it. This is like 30, 27, and 26% on these. Matt Landers, Warren Thompson, then Jaden Hazelwood. Jaden Hazelwood among the receivers, but it was Trey Knox. You didn't think it was going to be Trey Knox. Less than 10% of the people voted for Trey Knox. It was still 147 people, still a high number of people thought, but only 9.98% said it would be Trey Knox out of all of them. Defensive MVP, another subjective one, Bumper Pool with 36.76%. I would say, he was SEC Defensive Player of the Week with 14 tackles. I would say he is deserving of that. Game result. Most people, 61.07%, said 10 to 19 points that Arkansas would win by. And Arkansas won by 7. Covered the spread, though, and that was the second most vote gets. All right. That's our long last look at the polls. We talked about South Carolina. All right, I want to get to your questions now. Before I get to those, I want to say thanks to the people that left reviews on Apple Podcasts. We got so much good stuff, and I'm going to read a few of them. Best original Razorback content out there. This is from Razorback 0513. Again, these people aren't just leaving reviews on our podcast. They're leaving reviews about the website. A lot of these people are members on the website. So before I jump into that, just last time, it's 75% off. This is till Tuesday. So go ahead and get on there and sign up. There's no promo code or anything. You'll go there. You'll see the 75% off thing. Just click it and sign up. You'll be really glad you did. I promise. $26.85 for the whole year. $26.85 for the whole year. That's $2.24 a month. $2.24 for the month. 52 cents a week. 7 cents a day. 7 cents a day. Just to come check it out for the year. I mean, people. It's the best deal we've offered. We're not going to do a better one. We're not going to do another one probably till Black Friday, Cyber Monday type of something. So it's going to be a long time at the end of the season before we offer, any kind of real nice special again. So this is the one to get in on. Right now, last check, we were leading the entire country. Love seeing Arkansas at the top. And that's what I've always said. You offer a great product, maybe we need a little incentive. 75% off is a pretty good one. But you offer a great product, Razorback fans will come. It's evident by the football game. It's evident by our numbers on the subscribers. All right. Best original Razorback content. This podcast and content of the site is the best independent resource for Razorback news. Trey does a great job delivering insider updates while connecting with the emotions that every fan is feeling. The rant after the Chad Morris Western Kentucky game is a great example of this. The casual delivery of the show makes you feel like you're hanging with a friend, just talking Razorback athletics. If you want a unique experience, throw the podcast on half speed and you'll feel like you're talking about the Hogs with someone who has had a few drinks. Aha, that's pretty good. You know, it's interesting because like me and all the other media people, like we're transcribing stuff after the game, after the game or after a press conference or something. And I always play mine at, half speed for most guys. Sam Pittman talks a little slower, so you can do about 0.7 speed. But everybody sounds a little bit drunk when you're transcribing. Appreciate that. And again, not just about the podcast, but also about the site, right? Woo Pig, good game, needs more. This is from Good Game Needs More. You ready for football? Well, this pod can get you ready for football and basketball. Keep up the good work. Go Hogs for life. From Russia with Love, says Live in Angry. I started listening back during the 2018-19 season when I lived in Moscow and couldn't watch the games live as an alumni. That was a dark time, but regardless, I got hooked on Trey and the gang's coverage of the Hogs. Also, that would be a great band name, Trey and the Gang. This is a really long one. Like, this is super long, so I'm not going to read all of it, but, I mean, he goes over, says he needs more Danny. Yeah, we need more Danny. I mean, there's so much on this. This is the longest review I've ever seen, but, again, this dude took the time to write out a review this long about what we're doing over here. I really appreciate that. Slappy1099 says, HawgSports has got the greatest team sports show out there, gives so much free insight. Been a member of HawgSports for 3 or 4 years and have never once regretted it. Keep up the good work. Trey knows his stuff. Nice and simple. From DD Al Porto. Green Hog says, love HawgSports. Trey and the guys do a great job covering the Hogs. Been a VIP subscriber for several years and I've never regretted it. You guys hearing this, right? You guys hearing what people are saying. These are members. Well worth the price for the content they put out. I love Curtis's coverage of basketball. And this guy's paying a full price. He's paying full price. He's continued to support us paying full price, not 25% of what everybody's, he's paying the full price. Most everybody on our site signed up on a promo. Most everybody signed up on a promo, some kind of promo, and have stuck around. Recently found these guys after searching for more hog content to consume after a few weeks of listening. They are clear notch above everyone else. Great sports take, backed by analysis and thorough reasoning versus baseline observation and feelings that is prevalent elsewhere. High-level conversations, clear and concise. Thank you, Trey, Biddy, and team. I really appreciate that. Your name is a number, 075528. I really appreciate that. Love the show always. When a new posted, Trey brings a lot of good information. Best guys in the business. Keep up the great work. This is great stuff. Podcast is 5.0 stars, by the way, 772 ratings. If you haven't left us one, I appreciate it. But, man, I really appreciate everybody answering the call. The first time I asked it, only one person did it. It was a great review, and then everybody have chimed in after that. So, join these people. Sign up. 75% off at HawgSports. I'm going to get to some questions quick, but I have to go quickly because it's 3:05 live right now. And I got practice. It's at 4:45, so they pushed it back a little bit, so that's good. Sam Pittman made Trey Knox some money moving to tight end. NFL teams, like I said, he looked great. He looked huge and faster. Like he was outrunning people. The Trey Knox I knew, wasn't necessarily the fastest wide receiver. So, I mean, put 35 pounds on the dude, and he's faster. Hornsby is the fastest guy on the team until I see otherwise. I agree with that. I want to see more Hornsby. We saw him just a little bit. He had basically one touch. I thought he would have more. I want to see more Malik Hornsby. They did, show some stuff, make you got to prepare for some things, but, I mean, he didn't quite the action I thought he was going to get. But I want to see more Hornsby. I think all of you do too. Let me know in the comments below. Will Lennox says, I think D-line will dominate their O-line and Ratter will have a bad game. Rocket will run the ball all over them. Grayson Reasoner says, Trey, do you expect more Hornsby packages? Just talked about that. Yes, I do. 3 O'Clock Sports says, Trey, do you expect more Hornsby packages? Grayson Reasoner says, Trey, do you expect more Hornsby packages? Just talked about that. Yes, I do. 3 O'Clock Sports says, Trey, do you expect more Hornsby packages? Just talked about that. Yes, I do. 3 O'Clock Sports says, Trey, do you expect more Hornsby packages? Just talked about that. Yes, I do. 3 O'Clock Sports says, Trey, do you expect more Hornsby packages? Just talked about that. Yes, I do. 3 O'Clock Sports says, Trey, do you expect more Hornsby packages? Just talked about that. Yes, I do. 3 O'Clock Sports says, Trey, do you expect more Hornsby packages? Just talked about that. Yes, I do. 3 O'Clock Sports says, Trey, do you expect more Hornsby packages Yeah, Hornsby's, I mean, it just looks like wheels going. He's so fast. Josh Smith says, I got the VIP subscription, and it's worth every penny. Great content, everything Razorbacks. Appreciate that, Josh. Really appreciate it. There's nothing better. I can sit up here and talk all day about everything we offer and why you subscribe, but there's nothing better than the grassroots version of people telling other people, this is why I'm subscribed to HawgSports. I believe it's important for the secondary to stop Rattler. It's a good test for them. Yeah. Dadgum, Danny West and the rest are the best at what y'all do. Appreciate that, Donnie A. Butts. One of my favorite Danny West stories, he was on the radio, and everybody's giving him a hard time about saying Dadgum. You know, he's from Rising. I'm from Sheridan. But Danny says Dadgum a lot, and people were giving him a hard time about it. And then he was trying to work it out, you know, like consciously make an effort not to say Dadgum. And somebody asked a question. He said, I mean Dadgum. And he was thinking in his mind, he was upset with himself, but what he was thinking in his mind was, dadgum. He's thinking dadgum that he just said dadgum. Love it. All right, we got somebody who wants to join their French sexy time. Okay, le code de la... I don't even want to say it. I'm probably saying something perverted in French. What are these people... All right, we get spammed a little bit. Steve Miller says, I love Josh Pay's guest star on the Walk Talk. If you didn't check out the late kick last night before the LSU game, you can go check it out on YouTube, the late kick with Josh Pate. Josh Pate raved about his trip to Arkansas. I knew he would because, you know, I had plans with him on Friday afternoon. I had a deal Friday nights, but he went to Wright's Barbecue. He said they cleaned their plates. Loved it. He said he went to he was asking me, he's like, where can you work out around here? I don't know if you guys noticed Josh Pate's guns. The dude likes to work out. But he's like, where can you work out around here? And I pointed him to a place that you could get, you know, just a one-day membership at. But the University of Arkansas stepped up and invited him to come work out at the team facility. How awesome is that? And then took him on a tour after that. And I took him over to Hugo's. We had at Hugo's for lunch. I brought a friend of mine who's a good middleman. I knew there would be no dead conversation, anything, you know. He's a good dude. But, like, I wanted to bring somebody who was distinctly Arkansas. So I brought my buddy Brent with me, and we had a good time eating lunch over there at Hugo's. So ate at a couple of good places. He met a lot of people, and he said that this was up there for his best trip. And he goes somewhere, you know, every weekend. So good job, Arkansas people, treating Josh Pate well. And if you haven't checked out his show last night, go check out his show, The Late Kick, with Josh Pate on YouTube, and follow him at Late Kick Josh on Twitter. He joined. I know a lot. I didn't ever commit to it because I wanted it to kind of be a surprise. I was a little nervous about it because the Walk and Talk, I never want it to be like a gimmick or anything like that, you know. But it was just very natural, you know. Josh Pate and I, you know, we're not like close or anything, but we chit chat back and forth every once in a while. I first met him right before COVID when we were in Nashville together, and he'd really just started with 24/7 Sports. But a good guy. I see eye to eye on a lot of things with him, but not everything. I mean, obviously we're two different people, but I just like his approach because I know that he does a good job because I know how he covers Arkansas. And I mean, if he started screwing up Arkansas stuff, and he'd be like, this guy's probably screwing up everything else, but he's not. He never does. So. Melton Rowland says, I didn't see your Walk and Talk after the game. I just uploaded the Walk and Talk to YouTube, so you got to go to YouTube to check out the Walk and Talk. Walk and Talk will be YouTube. We'll do this show live on Facebook. I think Cincinnati helmets are on the field still, says Donnie A. Butts. Yeah, it was ridiculous. Yeah, if you want to check out the Walk and Talk, I forgot to mention that because I oftentimes I just put it on Facebook, but I just put it on YouTube and then link back to YouTube on Facebook. How are we feeling about the South Carolina spread? I like Arkansas matched up in this game, okay? Just based on what I saw, I like Arkansas. That's not that I don't think South Carolina is heading in the right direction because I really think they are as a program. I really like Shane Beamer. I just think Arkansas is, you know, maybe a year ahead of them, and they're the home team. But what would concern me is special teams. Okay, and I think that Arkansas did get a lot better in special teams, and I think Arkansas's got a good special teams unit, and I like Scott Fountain. I think he's really improved that unit over, especially, the first year. But South Carolina's playing at a different level in special teams right now. Also, Jason Norton has a comment about BYU, but the Baylor-BYU game on Saturday is at like 9:15. So you're going to be able to watch BYU live play a game, completely uninterrupted by the Arkansas game because it's 11 o'clock. I think that's really cool. I always, the reason I was up till 2:30 Saturday night watching college football games, just, I'd heard the score to some game, but the games that I didn't hear the scores to, I was able to watch, in full. Like South Carolina, I actually watched that on Sunday, and I just avoided the score. And part of that's because they played Georgia State, so not a lot of people were talking about it. But I just completely avoided the score of the South Carolina game and was able to watch the game in full. Obviously, fast forward in between stuff, but Jackie Price says, I love the double pass idea with Horns. So you're going to see a lot of stuff like that. Donnie Hay Butt says the ball pros. Yeah, that is true. I think me and Josh make it look good, though. Make it stylish. All right, everybody. Last time, sign up, 75% off. You have until Tuesday to sign up, Tuesday night to sign up. But go ahead and do so now so you can jump in on all of our content as we prepare for the Arkansas-South Carolina matchup. A big one in Fayetteville. Should be a great crowd, even though it's an 11 o'clock game. But sign up, 75% off. Last time, I'm going to mention it on here, 7 cents a day is what it breaks down to, 52 cents a week, $224 a month. $26.85, I think, for the entire year. You're not going to beat that. We're not doing another one like that, anything close to that, until like Black Friday or something. So the season will be over at that point. So sign up for the year right now at HawgSports. No promo code needed. All right, everybody. Thanks to Andrew Ellis. Follow Andrew Ellis at Andrew Ellis 247. Thanks to Danny West. Follow Danny West at Danny West 247. And subscribe to the website if you like what we're doing. Support us that way. That's the way to support us. All right, we'll be back with you guys on Thursday for the Arkansas versus South Carolina primer. We'll have somebody from the South Carolina side on 24/7 joining us to give us a little insight on that. And in the meantime, just check out all the great content we have at HawgSports. I'll be at practice here in a little bit. Andrew Ellis will have a practice report. Drive time's off today, so I won't be doing on air, but heck, I may help Andrew with the practice report. I don't know. All right, everybody. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, and we will catch you next time.